Development Partnership Administration and the Rapid Response Cell in the Ministry of External Affairs. It is my privilege to welcome you all, Excellencies, to this interactive session on one of the Government of India's flagship public welfare initiative, Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Honorable External Affairs Minister and Honorable Minister for Chemicals and Fertilizers and Health and Family Welfare for their gracious presence in today's event. I would like to thank Foreign Secretary Sri Vinay Quatra and Secretary Department of Pharmaceuticals, Madam S. Aparna, for their presence and the constant guidance in planning this event. I also thank our ambassadors and high commissioners of India in all the partner countries represented here today for joining us virtually. Considering the tight time schedule, let me first invite Sri Prabhat Kumar, Special Secretary Economic Relations and Development Partnership Administration in the Ministry of External Affairs, to give his welcome remarks. Sir.
Good afternoon. Honorable External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, Honorable Minister for Chemical and Fertilizers and Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Mansukh Mandaviya, Secretary Pharma, Ms. S. Aparna, High Commissioners and Ambassadors, colleagues from Department of Pharma and Ministry of External Affairs, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a pleasure for me to welcome you all for this session on Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana, that is Prime Minister's People's Pharmacy Program of India. In the recently held Voice of Global South Summit, there was a session of health ministers during which many countries expressed their concerns on health matters affecting them and the need for an equitable and inclusive mechanism for universal access to health care. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed our vulnerabilities in the area of health. Countries were caught off guard and went through a lot of suffering. This session today will be an important step in our endeavor to support our partners in making access to healthcare equitable and affordable. India believes in the forging of relationship that is rooted in its civilizational ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That is, the whole world is one family. Being a developing country, India recognizes and relates to the challenges countries in the developing world face. Today's session also is in tune with our developmental partnership philosophy, where India's approach has been consultative, outcome-oriented, demand-driven, and people-centric. As you may be well aware, Indian pharmaceutical industry is capable of providing essential life-saving medicines at affordable prices. During the pandemic, we provided vaccines, medicines, and other medical supplies and equipments to more than 150 countries. Excellencies, our theme for the G20 presidency is One Earth, One Family, One Future. It is our endeavor to share India's experience and learnings and models as possible templates for others, particularly in the developing world, and to promote a universal sense of oneness. As you would discover through the presentations and interactions today, the PMBJP or People's Pharmacy model is effective in making healthcare accessible and affordable. I would let the experts in Department of Pharma explain the elements of the scheme. I once again welcome you all in this important session and hopeful of productive interactions and concrete outcomes that can be pursued in the days ahead. Thank you very much.
May I now request the Honorable Minister for Chemicals and Fertilizers and Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Mansukh Mandaviya, to kindly give his remarks. Sir.
Honorable External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar ji, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am extremely happy that we are all here for a common noble cause of affordable health care, one of the Sustainable Development Goals. Last month, I had the pleasure of hosting the Health Ministers session of the Voice of Global South Summit. The intervention of several ministers of health reinforced that improving the health and pharma sector, including establishing robust supply chain for pharma product, is a major priority for the developing world, especially in the aftermath of COVID-19 pandemic. As a health minister, I can say our goal is to focus on improving access and affordable of medicine and medical device for our citizens and to the world. India has strong generic medicine industries with 50% exports. One of every 5 pills in generic drugs in produce in India. So, India in fact contributes in a big way for making medicines affordable for people in many countries across the globe. Our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji always want people-oriented governance. Since 2014, our government has worked to extend affordable healthcare through various programs, including cashless treatment, opening health and wellness centers, and popularizing generic medicines through Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana. The Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana is our flagship program to make available generic drugs of the best quality to our citizens at very affordable price. Through this initiative, medicines are made available to common men at price 50% to 80% lower than the commercial market. This does help the low income and middle income families, but there are 3 other benefits. One, it is a source for entrepreneurs to start retail business, and thus it adds to employment. 2, it is popular provides a widespread benefits to its citizens that ultimately increase the goodwill for the government. 3, it is a leverage model, which means the budgetary support is relatively low. I see that many developing countries import large share of their medicines requirements. What is the reason? Either pharmaceutical manufacturing has not yet developed in these countries, or their population size is too small for a viable pharmaceutical sector. Often, they import high-cost patient drugs by spending millions, even though affordable generic are available. In the spirit of sharing any popular initiative that can increase welfare to the people, we feel that this model of Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana program can be shared with your countries. This will give you the option to introduce a similar program for your citizens. This will bring economic benefits for poor and middle class household in your country. It will also reduce the burden on your import bill. I will generate employment for your educated youth and contributes improved access to quality healthcare products. If your country feels that this is a model that can be replicated, our Indian missions and the Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana teams are ready to help in rolling out the program through your own government departments. In line with the civilizational ethos of Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, that is, happiness and health for all. We are steadfast in our commitment to work with our partners' countries toward achieving it. Today's event demonstrates this. I firmly believe that this discussion will help us in drawing synergy and lay the base for future collaboration and also play an important role in deepening our relationship moving from trade to welfare. I extend my gratitude to Excellencies for reconciling the importance of this initiative and joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I now request the Honorable External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, to kindly give his remarks.
My ministerial colleague, Shri Mansukh Bhai Mandavia, colleagues on the dais, excellencies, friends. The event we are gathered here to attend and learn from is one where the Ministry of External Affairs has partnered the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare as part of what we consider to be an important global reach out. All over the world, health is a very, very critical issue. And the last 3 years, the years of the pandemic, have given it perhaps an exceptional salience. But it's not just the pandemic which has brought this to the center of the governance challenges in our societies. This was an issue which well preceded that and would continue to pose problems for all of us, even as the pandemic recedes. Now, when it comes to health, someone more expressive than me actually defined it in terms of a 3A principle. If something is not affordable, it is then not accessible. And if it is not accessible, it is not available. So there is a direct correlation between cost and usage. We can have situations, in fact, we do have situations in many societies where it's not the lack of medicines that is the problem. It is the affordability and accessibility to those medicines, that is. So today's event really focuses on that AAA linkage, that how do we actually address globally the challenge of making medicines available to our people, to all sections of our society on a sustainable basis. Now, because of COVID, today when we look at, when we think about globalization, one of the manifestations of globalization in recent times has been pandemics. But globalization has two sides to it, like so many other things in life. The same interdependence, the same interlinkages can also produce solutions. And we saw even during the pandemic period that different countries were able to step forward with their capacities, with their competitive capacities at times. And it was really by lowering costs, not only by expanding production, that we were able to meet the COVID challenge in the manner in which the world did. So we are here today to highlight the fact that for every country today, health costs is very, very central to the quality of governance. For developing countries, it is also something which is very central to their progress, to their prosperity. And again, as I said, even among developed countries, given the income disparity, I mean, you look even at a society like the US, which is shifting much more in the direction of generics, that the global debate on how to make health access more affordable, that is really what has brought us here together. Now, where India is concerned, we, as you could, since you all live here, you can see this is very much a society in the midst of transformation. Every day, every week, every month, something is happening in some socio-economic front. And our effort has been to naturally absorb and reflect on our own experiences, but also share them with the international community. Now, I am very cognizant of the fact that very often our experiences may be unique to us on scale, unique to us in the nature by which, how we have addressed it. But I do believe that, in this world, there is a learning that we can have from each other through an exchange of experiences. That is very much what we are hoping to promote during our G20 presidency as well. And certainly when we undertook the Voice of Global South consultations, the focus on, what are the diverse needs of the world, what are the priorities, how do we find a common denominator, how do we put it across and prioritize it in the global agenda. Those were really the factors which guided the Voice of Global South exercise. So do consider this as another facet of that thinking. I think, as my colleague, the Health Minister, brought out, we have the example of experience, that what we are here to talk about is not just something which is a good idea or even something which has been done. It has actually today taken root in the society in a very, very massive way, and we can see its impact. I mean, as people in the field of politics, who are public representatives, when we travel around in this country, if there are some examples which the average person identifies as a change, as a positive change in the quality of their life, in the ease of their living, this is one of the examples. So we are here today to focus your attention on it, and I would also mention in this regard, already our development partnerships today extend to almost 80 countries across the world in different regions. It is an endeavor, the development partnerships, that we constantly want to refresh, to make it more relevant to the needs and priorities of our partners. And we certainly believe that health is one such domain. So I'm extremely pleased today to welcome you all here, to join my colleague in this endeavor. And I hope that the interaction that will follow would be useful. From my side, I would like to emphasize is that if there is to be a practical follow-through on our discussions today, if any of you wish to see initiatives which will actually translate onto the ground in your particular countries, it is something which our development partnership side of our ministry, I think Ambassador Prabhat Kumar is there with me on the dais. Satish was there to welcome us. So we certainly hope that today's discussion can also be taken into the DPA, into the Development Partnership Administration domain. So once again, a very, very warm welcome, and I hope we have a very good conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. May I now request Sri Ravi Dadich, CEO of Pharmaceuticals and Medical Devices Bureau of India, to come up on stage and share the salient aspects of the scheme. Thank you.
Yes, presentation please. Yeah, a very warm welcome to all the dignitaries on the dais and your excellencies. In this brief presentation of around 15 minutes, I will be touching upon various facets of Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana, for which I will use the phrase scheme hereinafter. Jan Aushadhi means people's medicine. This is a picture of a Jan Aushadhi outlet in Kerala on the left-hand side of the screen, and on the right side there is another Jan Aushadhi Kendra in one of the government medical colleges in Kashmir with specific branding where medicines are sold out to retail customers on prescription basis. A model of such outlet has also been created on the ground floor area, which can be visited after the event. However, a need was felt to increase the reach of affordability of medicines in the country. Hence, with this noble objective, Department of Pharmaceuticals, Government of India has established extensive retail outlets to sell generic allopathic medicines for all under a flagship scheme called Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana. Yeah. Given the success of the scheme is based on the inherent strength of India's pharma sector, as India is known as the generic pharmacy of the world, having more than 3,000 companies and 10,500 manufacturing facilities, we produce around 60,000 generic brands covering 60 therapeutic categories and supply to more than 200 destinations. In India, we have 65,000 network of distributors and almost 1 million pharmacies to cater to 1.35 billion citizens. With this strength, next please. With this strength, a need was felt to increase the reach of affordability of medicines in this country, and with this objective, as I just mentioned, the Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana was established by the Department of Pharmaceuticals to sell generic allopathic medicines for all. This scheme, a dedicated organization implements this scheme. A dedicated organization called PMBI, the Pharmaceutical and Medical Devices Bureau of India, has been entrusted for running this scheme. At citizen level, the scheme operates through retail outlets run by entrepreneurs. BJP's journey. Yeah. The last 8 years of the scheme have been remarkable, wherein the scheme has witnessed over 100-fold increase, when in 2014 there were only 80 stores, which have increased to more than 9,000 in the year 2022-23. And similarly, the sales have also seen the similar growth from $1 million in 2014 to $120 million in the current year. The product basket under the scheme has also witnessed a growth from 400 to 2,000 plus medicines and devices, and the number of warehouses have also increased from 1 to 4 in this last 8 years period. All this delivers 50% to 90% savings on drug cost to the citizens. It is an estimate that around, on an average, 1 million people visit these Jan Aushadhi outlets every day. Now let us look at the stakeholders in the scheme. Stakeholders in the scheme comprise manufacturers and suppliers, logistic partners, NABL accredited labs, distributors, and the outlets, which all focus towards serving the patient's interest with a strong connect with the political leadership and the political will. They all facilitate for a well-coordinated ecosystem which is leading to the supreme benefits for the patients. This diagram represents the logistics operations. The operations for the scheme begins with the procurement and dispatch of supplies from the manufacturer's production units to either the central warehouse or to the regional warehouses. And this is based on the demand of forecasting which is generated from various states in the country. From the warehouses, then the Jan Aushadhi outlets are supplied either directly or through the network of 36 distributors who are mainly located in the state capitals. The entire system is monitored by a centralized ERP to ensure timely delivery to outlets. PMVI also invites applications in an online mechanism from entrepreneurs, approves retail outlets, and then provides monetary incentives to them. Now I would like to briefly analyze the key success factors that have contributed for the scheme. The scheme has been a runaway success as it ensures robust quality assurance for all the products. The logistics are efficiently managed, ensuring adequate product range and uninterrupted supplies. While we have a definite communication strategy in place to create awareness about the scheme, it has also gained significant traction through word of mouth publicity on account of huge and repeated savings for the citizens for every purchase. We will be discussing some of these success factors in the next few slides. Quality assurance. The first question that a consumer or a health professional wants to know is that when the medicines are inexpensive, is the quality assured? So, all the medicines are procured from World Health Organization Good Manufacturing Practices, WHO GMP certification, and all food products are certified from FSSAI and medical devices from CE. A two-tier quality assurance by testing of 13 NABL accredited laboratories has been put in place, and more than 99% of the batches which are received in a year, these have been consistently meeting the prescribed parameters. Besides this, we carry out regular comparison of our medicines with branded counterparts and to keep a check on the regular quality of these medicines. Hence, I can say that assured quality is our number one priority and quality is paramount. The second success factor is the IT-enabled end-to-end supply chain system and logistics for the same. PMVI has 4 state-of-the-art warehouses in Gurgaon, Surat, Chennai, and Guwahati in 4 corners of the country and a network of 36 distributors across all states which strengthen the supply chain. This, as well as the centralized control, ensures adequate inventory and prompt delivery. PMVI has also engaged a logistic partner for creating and maintaining the supply chain. Third, we have made the scheme very attractive for the entrepreneurs. An incentive of up to rupees 5 lakh or around $6,000 is made available to them. This amount is linked to monthly purchases made by them at the outlet, subject to ceiling of around $200 per month. This ensures support for almost first 3 years to stabilize the entrepreneurs. As an affirmative action, one-time special incentive of rupees 2 lakh or about $2,500 is also given to specified categories as listed there: the women, physically challenged, ex-servicemen, scheduled castes, and scheduled tribes. and also to the outlets which are opened in remote geographical areas of Himalayan region, island territories, and northeastern states of India. Our fourth key success factor is that the product basket under the scheme is continuously increasing. Now we have more than 2,000 products which cover major therapeutic groups like high-cost antibiotics or anti-cancer medicines or widely used anti-diabetic and cardiovascular drugs. Looking to the wider needs of health supplements, wellness products and nutraceuticals have also been included in the basket. I must emphasize here that because of the scheme, we were able to respond quickly during COVID-19 pandemic outbreak period, which necessitated supply of devices like oximeter, rapid antigen test kits, masks, gloves, etc. for general public. Thus, an adequate and comprehensive range of products builds trust on the scheme amongst the citizens. The scheme has also supported menstrual health, which is a priority for public health. The government has introduced through this scheme highly subsidized oxo-biodegradable sanitary pads, which cost only ₹1 per pad. In the last 4 years, more than 330 million sanitary pads have been sold through these retail outlets, and these are extremely popular and in great demand. In this manner, the scheme offers opportunity to respond to evolving health priorities of the country. The next key success factor is constant communication and awareness. And for this, there is a one-stop mobile app called Jan Aushadhi Sugam that has been introduced under this scheme. It is an effective tool leveraging technology which facilitates Google Map-based search of the nearby outlets of Jan Aushadhi and their contact details, and also search medicine option gives generic names of the branded counterparts and gives a convenient price comparison. So apart from this, we also organize regular events for publicity to enhance public interest in the scheme and popularize its benefits through social media and outdoor publicity as well. However, I am happy to share that our biggest boost comes from the constant messaging and regular annual interaction by Honorable Prime Minister with the beneficiaries about the scheme. This support coming from the highest level of the government has helped immensely in building awareness about the benefits of the scheme. Of course, the most impactful success factor has been the savings to the citizens. This display presents that some popular medicines and approximate savings to the citizens in comparison to their branded versions, which range from 50% to 90% savings. For example, a strip of 10 tablets of Pen-D 40 mg costs about ₹200, and its Jan Aushadhi version Pantoprazole 40 mg costs only ₹12. Similarly, a strip of Augmentin 625 mg costs ₹225, and its Jan Aushadhi version amoxicillin costs only ₹93. So these savings have been particularly useful for patients with chronic disease, which, as you know, are growing in numbers in developing countries. So besides generating immense goodwill for the government, the scheme has delivered a whopping savings of more than $2 billion in the past 8 years for the citizens of this country. Given that it is a very well-established framework now, the scheme is likely to save approximately $1 billion for the citizens for our country every year on cost of medicines. Now we would like to share our success with our global family. Looking to the success of PM-BJP scheme in India and its contribution to public health and popularity among citizens, we feel that the scheme can be replicated in many other countries for the benefits of their citizens. While doing so, it would be useful to keep certain basic tenets in mind. These would include like identification of a nodal department or a suitable government agency to implement the scheme. Second, the budgetary support. This can be leveraged as this cost is very small compared to the benefit it governs. PMVI gets an annually budget support of around rupees 100 crores, which produces the sales of rupees 1200 crores and a consequent saving to the citizens of more than 7,000 crores every year. Third is the technical support, for which selection of a qualified professional partner having sound financial and technical capabilities is required. Assured supply from low-cost quality suppliers is essential, and it can be ensured by fair and transparent procurement processes. We procure all 2,000 medicines and devices through online competitive bidding process. Testing laboratories network and infrastructure for quality. As I said, quality is paramount objective. The availability of testing laboratories is very essential. It is required as an ongoing required on an ongoing basis to assure good quality. And finally, the skilled manpower or the trained pharmacists and entrepreneurs to run this scheme on ground and for the franchisee model, which we have adopted in India. So each country may customize the scheme based on their strengths and their requirements. The partnership opportunities. In case you are convinced about public health and popular benefits of PMBJP, our organization PMBI can facilitate in rolling out a similar scheme in your country. Both G2G and B2G channels can be envisaged, wherein for operational aspects it could include sharing of mobile app or software at some nominal cost, or sharing of ERP templates and modules, and sharing of scheme guidelines. Some of the commercial areas for partnership can be that we can help you to connect with pharma manufacturers who manufacture under WHO GMP regime and have a proven quality record, proven track record of quality. We can assist in initial procurement if you feel its need to initiate the scheme in the first few years. In case it is required, we can also provide tie-ups with the testing laboratories for the third-party certification of quality. For all these aspects, the nodal ministry or nodal person can contact PMBI, the implementing agency, through Indian missions. Now finally, the way ahead and some suggestions. How can the scheme be scaled for wider impact on public health? So, one, a similar model may be adopted by other nations for providing savings to their citizens on medical costs. Or as a pilot, a procurement of some 50 fast-moving medicines can be identified, and it can be linked with, a linkage can be established with Indian pharma exporters. With us, Director Pharmaxil is also here, and there is a stall which they are displaying some information about that. And for further discussion on this subject, you can visit their stall as well. Similar IT and supply chain systems can be shared with other countries to run a similar scheme. And of course, the publicity about generic medicines would need to be done by the respective governments to make citizens and doctors aware of the rollout and benefits of the scheme. Finally, I must acknowledge the guidance and leadership of our Minister, Dr. Mansukh Mandaviya ji, who has enabled us to succeed in this noble endeavor. And I also thank Honorable Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar ji for providing this platform to PMBI. In our experience, this is a path-breaking scheme for the citizens' benefit that has been much lauded by the stakeholders, and it has been my privilege to share this journey with you. Thank you very much for your valuable time and for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Sri Dadich. I would request you to stay on. We would now be having a brief Q&A session. The mics are placed on each table. I would request you to raise your hands on identification. You could identify yourselves and then ask the question. Yeah, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ministers, Mandajiva and Minister Jaishankar. I'm the ambassador for Chile, Juan Angulo. Thank you very much for the opportunity. In fact, it is very useful for us. We have been implementing some kind of people's pharmacy also in Chile. And my question, in fact, I have three very short questions that, for the sake of the time, I would like to propose. The first is if you could enlighten us a little on the coexistence of the system with the normal insurance schemes that normally are present in some in countries where people can recollect funds from the insurances. Second, I would like to hear some ideas on the how do you avoid the overuse of medicines? That is sometimes it's a problem when there is a facility to get the medication. You can have overdoses of these medications. And third, if you could explain a little on the property rights of these generics, and how do you deal with that fact that sometimes it is present on the country of destination of these products. How do you deal with laboratories that are well established and they can have the same molecule, but it is not generic? Thank you very much.
Thank you for those questions, Your Excellency. My name is Aparna. I'm Secretary in the Department of Pharmaceuticals. And with the Honorable Minister's consent, I will attempt to quickly answer so that we can have more discussion. So on insurance, as you may be aware, India has launched one of the biggest public health insurance scheme in the world. It is called Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, and it covers, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 50 million households in the country. It's a huge program, and that is publicly funded. But when individuals go outside the public health system and they have to buy their own medicines, which may be the case, in fact, in many of the countries in the global south, then they can access these retail outlets and purchase medicines at highly discounted prices, much lower prices. So insurance is one arm. These retail outlets are another arm. And the third channel for providing affordable public health, of course, is the Ayushman Bharat scheme, under which 150,000 wellness centers have been set up in the country. Regarding the overdoses, you're talking about overuse of medicine. So again, in the scheme, every retail outlet is required to obtain a drug license from the respective regulatory authority, and every retail outlet must have a registered pharmacist on the premises, who are therefore bound under their pharmaceutical code of conduct to ensure that the medicines are only dispensed as per the prescription in cases of prescription drugs. The third, I think, was a query about the IPR. So generics by definition are free from IPR. These are not patented drugs, but they are the generic versions which are already outside the patent period. Each drug is licensed by the national regulator or the state regulator, depending on the category of drugs. So we take care of ensuring that no patent violations take place when these drugs are being licensed by the regulators.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other query? Sir.
Yes, good afternoon, Ministers Jaishankar, Mandajiva, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I am Teodoro Maldonado, Ambassador of Ecuador. Very pleased to be here this afternoon. I think India can afford great opportunities in this field of pharmaceuticals for other countries. I'd just like to share a brief story that highlights the importance of this issue we're dealing with today. When I was appointed ambassador before coming to India, one day I got a call from a friend of a friend, and she was desperate. She told me, I know you've been appointed to ambassador to India, and I want you to help me find the medication my husband needs for a type of cancer he has, multiple myeloma, which is $2,000 a month, the dosage he needs for the next 2 years at home and other places I've been looking at. I just called my embassy here in Delhi and found out that going to the local pharmacy in Vasant Vihar, the same medication was available for $90 a month. So that's the price gap we're talking about. Now, for our countries, it would be very interesting to access schemes such as the one described, to promote business contacts between our companies and Indian companies to supply medications for cancer, diabetes, and other diseases, but also trying to promote in some way collaboration between, I would say, companies, business. We do have pharmaceutical companies in Ecuador and pharmaceutical laboratories in different stages of development, and it would be very attractive to develop some form of collaboration in terms of research and development, which is key to the industry. So what could you tell me about that? Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, and it was very heartening to hear of your happy experience, and this is true of many medicines, in fact. That is one of the strengths, as Ravi mentioned in the first slide. We are very happy to also share that apart from medicines for BP or hypertension, diabetes, in the Jan Aushadhi scheme, there are also anti-cancer drugs, I think 46 of them. 35 anti-cancer drugs are also available at prices that are 50 to 90% less than the market. So there is an opportunity even for high-cost medicines. We are extremely happy to know that there is an interest in collaboration, company to company, research institution to research institution. In India, we have 7 National Institutes of Pharmaceutical Education and Research. So Your Excellency is interested, we can organize a visit to one of them, and perhaps we can start talking about institutional collaboration on research and eventually on manufacturing. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam?
Good afternoon, I'm Ambassadors of Thailand, and I'd like to thank all the Honorable Minister for sharing this information on the Jan Aushadhi. My questions is concerning when you say it's about to share the experience of this scheme with other countries in the sense of in terms of the development partnership with other countries. Can you elaborate more? That is there any things in mind how you share the experience with other countries apart from B2B or research? For example, will you provide the assistance to other countries like developing countries for the whole scheme, how you work with them, and about for the developed countries or the countries like Thailand that we also provide the assistance to other countries? Is there any things in mind for this kind of the partnership program? Thank you.
I think it's best that I respond to you, Ambassador. To be very honest, one of the purposes of having all of you here today is actually to solicit your views on how do we work with you in this domain. We want to get across the message that our experiences, and in fact, I was talking to my colleagues, how many people use these facilities every day, and what they told me was on a daily basis, the number of people who avail of medicines is 1.2 million. So we are really looking at about 400 million people coming in annually to these shops. We would be very happy to get a sense, because in each one of your countries would be different. And as I said, it's not our intention to say that we have a model and that should somehow be transposed onto other countries. So we would actually welcome from you, after hearing of our experience, your interest and how you think this can be taken forward. What I can assure you is we have an interest in taking it forward. So I need, in a sense, that insight or advice or suggestion or proposal from your side, and we would be very, very happy to respond.
I think, sir, last table 23.
Very good evening, Honorable Minister, Excellencies, Dr. Do Thanh Hai from the Embassy of Vietnam. I think I would very greatly appreciate that kind of initiative, and I think that I also said the same story that we also, when a friend asking for some kind of medicine from India, so when I check the price in India is always lower than things that's sold in our country. So I think that it could be wonderful idea that we can have that initiative and that can provide the medicine to all the people with affordable price. My question is that how we can ensure, any kind of mechanism to ensure the quality together with the low cost, because any kind of G2G or any kind of mechanism can assure that the quality of drugs is at the best with its price. Thank you.
Mr. Dadish?
Yeah, sir, as I explained during the presentation, that quality is a paramount concern for us as well. When people buy inexpensive drugs, always there is a doubt that whether the medicine would be effective or not. So there is an entire ecosystem created to maintain the quality. First of all these medicines are procured only from WHO GMP certified manufacturers. So one standardization is there. Second, when all these medicines are received in the warehouse, there is a second level of testing. First certification comes from the manufacturer itself. Second level of testing in independent laboratories is done. And as per our data which is available with us, out of say 10,000 batches which are received in the warehouses, consistently more than 99% of the medicines are fulfilling the prescribed requirements or standards of those medicines. Not only this, besides this, we have a regular system of keeping a check or making a comparison with the branded counterparts. Means we send our Jan Aushadhi medicines, which are the generic version, as well as the popular market brand medicines to the same laboratories and evaluate their standards in terms of assay or solubility or the dissolution. So all these factors ensure that the quality of these medicines are good, and we regularly monitor this thing as well. Thank you.
Ma'am? Sir.
Thank you. I'm the Chargée d'Affaires of Gabon Embassy, Mrs. Josephine Patricia Ntiam Eya. So the scheme is very important, very interesting to know, because in my country we have a phenomenon called in French pharmacie par terre. It means that we have some entrepreneurs, little freelancers, that are selling medicines on the ground, and it is not very good for the population. And for sure, my government is searching for solutions. So I think it will be a pleasure to tell them that something is going on in India. My second question is, in fact, question first was a comment. The second thing is that I want to know if the traditional medicines, I mean Ayurveda, the equivalent of Ayurveda in India, but in my country is the traditional medicine. Is the Ayurveda linked to this scheme? I would like to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I would just like to add that the product basket of Jan Aushadhi medicines is more than 2,000, and we have included few Ayurvedic medicines as well. The process is in its nascent stage, and gradually, means as of now, around 5 products are available under the Ayurvedic category. And based on the response regarding these medicines, the Ayurvedic medicines, we will be including more. Thank you.
In fact, if I may add, it was during the COVID that we found great interest in immunity boosters available in the Ayurveda regime, and we were able to introduce it very fast because we already had this network. Thank you.
Sir.
Bado Eme Minister Consular from Burkina Faso Embassy. I would like to thank the authority of India for the good partnership that Burkina Faso had during the COVID period. And coming to the pharmaceutical product, we have our national agency in case of pharmaceutical product, and the strategy is to promote the partner public and private sector. How can we strengthen our cooperation to enable the private sector to produce the pharmaceutical product in Burkina Faso, and also develop the human resources in case of the production of pharmaceutical product? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think this is a concern that many are having as to whether they can start pharmaceutical production in their own countries, and particularly I think because the experience of the last 2 years has made governments more aware of this. I think it has to be a planned journey. It is not something that happened overnight, even in India. So in India also it has been a journey over several decades. Of course, thanks to this experience and the development of science, it would be telescoped in any other country like Burkina Faso, which would like to establish a pharmaceutical manufacturing. We are always open to talks on how to deepen investment flows across countries, but I can certainly offer immediate support and cooperation on building the manpower, which is a prerequisite to start any new sector. As I mentioned, we have educational institutions, and MEA also has a program under which students can be brought on an exchange, and this can be extended for pharmaceutical science also. I think that would help.
If I could just add a word here. You know, I think, Excellencies, many of you know we have something called the ITEC program. The ITEC has been used for many years to have experts, in different areas go in and out. We could actually, if there is interest on your side, we could actually think of carving out a kind of a subset of the ITEC program, which will be dedicated to people coming and familiarizing themselves with how this works, so that, these could be either technical people, but they could even be government officials or people in public health, so that you actually have a hands-on sense of really how the system works. This is something that we could actively explore.
Table number 18.
Thank you. Good evening. I am Maliki, the ambassador of Morocco in Delhi. It's much more on a suggestion that I'm making. You all know that there is a very interesting and important forum between India and Africa that is called the India-Africa Summit and Forum. And I think the health sector was also one of the important sectors discussed, but after the pandemic and COVID, it has become even more important. My idea is probably if India could make few warehouses in Africa where it can also provide the medicines for many countries. I think for 5 or 6 regions, this seems to me very practical and also very, what we call, bringing administration closer to people and the services closer to people. It won't concern only the medicines, but it will certainly concern also the medical equipments, because I'm sure that India and Africa have long-standing relations, and then India is quite keen in helping to reach the autonomy and then self-sufficiency also of the African countries. It would be very, very much useful bringing this experience, but also bringing the medicines closer to people there. Thank you so much. Thank you.
More in terms of a suggestion, I thought. Thank you. Excellencies, thank you very much for your interest and for your questions. As Mr. Dadij had mentioned, there are information booths erected by Pharmaxel and PMBI, which is available at Shakuntala Mall, where we will be having high tea in the ground floor. You are most welcome to visit them during the high tea. May I now request Secretary, Department of Pharmaceuticals, Madam S. Aparna, to kindly give her closing address.
Honorable External Affairs Minister, Honorable Minister for Health and Family Welfare, Chemicals and Fertilizers, under which my Department of Pharmaceuticals falls, Your Excellencies, distinguished dignitaries, my colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. At the end of this afternoon's session, I hope all of us feel that this past 1 hour has been an hour well spent in sharing and reflecting on a subject that is of utmost importance for the well-being of the people of each of our countries. Public health, as all of us understand, is one of the priorities under the SDGs, and affordable health care is one of the targets. The cost of medicines and the assurance of the quality of medicines, which was also raised here in discussion, is a priority for every patient worldwide, but is even more for poor households on any continent on our planet Earth. India, with a 20% share in global generics and a strong, affordable medical value travel sector, already contributes, I believe, to reducing healthcare costs on a global level. We also have a fairly strong stable of institutions for pharmacy education, which I just mentioned, the NIPERS. Now we are focusing more on improving the affordability of innovative therapies and diagnostics. Cancer was mentioned. We are trying to increase our research to make advanced therapies like gene therapy, stem cell therapy, more affordable for the common people. Many countries in the global south face a twofold challenge of high burden of import of drugs at the government level at one hand, and the second challenge is high out-of-pocket expenditure on health at individual or family level on the other hand. So these are the two challenges that all of us face, and in bilateral discussions with delegations from some of your countries or in joint working groups that we have on health, we realize that this is an issue which is close to the heart of many of our partner countries. And each of the countries, of course, tries to deal with it in its own way. There was a mention of people's pharmacies, for example. So I do believe that in this context, the PM-BJP model that we have humbly attempted to communicate today offers solutions for both the challenges, the high import bill and the high out-of-pocket expenditure on health. I would like to venture to say that it also addresses the triple parameters that were laid out by our Honorable External Affairs Minister in his opening address, those of affordability, access, and availability of quality medicines. In addition, if I may say this, There are three other advantages. One is assured quality, which was discussed, assuring employment to young entrepreneurs and pharmacists. And thirdly, it's highly popular among the masses and raises public trust and confidence. It is also fiscally viable, and it is directed at public health goals. We talked about the budgetary leverage that has been possible in our context. So therefore, it would give us immense satisfaction to be able to assist in translating our experience, which has been quite happy, into public initiatives in your specific context, if you feel that there is value in this, and also to help you to clarify and think through any aspect of the model, if you would like to take it forward with your principles. I think this is very satisfying, particularly because it is one way of translating this Indian philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is one family, into tangible benefits. And it is especially important and close to us because it is something that we have taken up in this year of the Indian presidency of the leadership of the G20. As a collective of public servants, you, me, all of us here, I think we are always ready to do good wherever possible, in whatever manner possible. Hence, I do hope that this session today will lead to some structured interactions with partner countries through our missions. I must thank Honorable Minister Dr. Jaishankar, Honorable Minister Dr. Mandaviyaji for leading us on this platform to reach out to our brothers and sisters across the borders. I must also thank my friends, Secretary in Ministry of External Affairs, your entire team, particularly Sivan, and my team in Department of Pharmaceuticals and PMBI for putting together this interaction. Most of all, I would like to thank, though I'm sure Sivan will also do it, but I would like to thank all the esteemed heads of missions, members of the mission who are here today for your presence and your interest and some of the good words that you have shared about the pharmaceutical sector here. I trust, on a lighter note, that this event is not just a beginning, but it is a deepening of that proverbial beautiful friendship, not in a cynical fade out in a black and white movie, but actually leading to collective public welfare, which I believe is close to all our hearts. Thank you so much for being with us here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam, for your remarks and your acknowledgements. Excellencies, that brings us to the end of the formal proceedings for today's event. On behalf of the Ministry of External Affairs and the Department of Pharmaceuticals, let me convey our sincere appreciation for your active participation and your presence today. We would like to invite you all to the high tea at Shakuntalam Hall. Our officials will guide you to the venue. As I mentioned, we have our booths laid out there, and we would continue our discussions there. Thank you once again. Have a good evening.